Do you have continuity or association plan for your business?
Has anyone shared the concept of sustainability with you?
What about the need to protect the rights of minority shareholders?
What are those ingredients germane to having effective meetings?
For these and many more, tune into Corporate Governance Platform every Thursday on MITV, your darling station, on DSTV 255 and UHF 43 at 4:30 p.m.
Corporate Governance Platform is your best medium for informative and educative strategies for the practice of the corporate governance profession.
Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, the hub of governance professionals.
Many thanks for joining your favorite program on TV, Corporate Governance Platform. The program is proudly brought to you by the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, the hub of governance professionals, and is beaming live from MITV in Lagos. My name is Tunde Odeyemi, and in today's episode, we are going to continue our conversation on the importance of corporate governance evaluation. And as expected, our guest is a very distinguished fellow of ICSAN, Mr. Francis Olawale. Mr. Olawale is a governance expert, compliance and business development practitioner. He is an accountant, investment analyst, and an authorized dealing clerk of the Nigerian Exchange Group. He is an International Labour Organization trainer, an ISO 9001-2015 certified lead auditor and consultant. He's also an International Finance Corporation trained corporate governance practitioner and board evaluator. He has a strong passion for quality leadership, governance, administration, strategy, business process improvement, and business management. And he trains in different functional areas of business operations. In his decades of experience, he has functioned in internal control, internal audit, finance and accounts, treasury, operations relationship management, secretarial unit, strategy unit across sectors such as real estate, haulage, transport, consulting firms, auditing firms, and banking before delving into private practice. He currently serves on the boards of Knights and Recovery Limited, Christian and Casting Limited, F&G Realities Limited, and DCMS, among others. He is a Governing Council member of ICSAN, where he serves as the Honorary Treasurer. He also serves as the Chairs of the Governance Practice Committee of the Institute and as the Vice Chairman of the Finance and General Purpose Committee. Mr. Olawale is the founding partner of Franks Management Consulting International, a management consulting firm of over a decade, which involves in financial advisory, process engineering, business development, strategy formulation and implementation, and trading services. He is also the principal Franks nominee, a governance, compliance, and business support firm registered in Nigeria and in Ghana. Mr. Francis Olawale, very glad to have you back on the show.
Thank you very much, sir.
And thanks for honoring our invitation to come again to discuss part 2 of the importance of corporate governance evaluation.
Thank you very much, sir. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, listeners and viewers. It's my pleasure to be here.
Okay, let's keep the ball rolling. For the benefits of some of our viewers that were not with us last week, in the context, what does corporate governance evaluation really stands for? What is it all about?
Okay, I'll just go the same route I went last week. So for the purpose of our discussion last week, I kicked off by saying that we should put it in perspective. Okay. Perspective by defining corporate governance. Okay. For the purpose of our discussion, I'm talking about corporate governance framework. So I'll just toe that line again. So last week I said basically, that corporate governance entails how you conduct the affairs of an entity to produce results, how you manage the affairs of an entity to produce results. And I said results being the ultimate corporate objective of the organization. Every organization has an objective. So having defined that, then we went on to talk about corporate governance framework. And I said corporate governance framework is enshrining policies, processes, structures, best practices into those companies' affairs, all to still ensure that the governing organ achieves, the set objectives of the company. So to put it simply, we could say that corporate governance evaluation or corporate governance audit, as it is called, in some quarters, basically just, refers to evaluation of that corporate governance framework. Having defined the framework, evaluation, assessment of that framework, to check its ability, to check its effectiveness, to check its adequacy in delivering value to various stakeholders in achieving organizational objectives.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I would like to use this opportunity to invite our viewers to be part of the show by asking questions or making comments on the show by sending text message to 080-2323-1287. I take the number again, 080-2323-1287. You have the number on the screen of your television set. Only text message, please, to ask questions or to make comments. No phone calls. Yeah. Now let's go deep into some of the areas that we were able to touch last week. To what extent is it true that the concept of corporate governance evaluation is new in Nigeria?
Well, that's going to be here and there.
Okay.
If I was supposed to answer that directly, we will say that, okay, it was introduced, that's corporate governance evaluation was introduced, into the corporate world officially, by the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria through the NCCG 2018. That's the current code of corporate governance, principle 15 of it, which mandates organizations to conduct that. But if we want to go back, it dates back to the history of corporate governance in Nigeria, since the history of regulation of corporate governance in Nigeria. Back to 2003, where you had the SEC code, the SEC, code for bank, which was later repealed to the CBN corporate governance code of 2006, which mandated, evaluation of the board, which calls it, board appraisal. And I did say to you last week that board evaluation is an integral part of the corporate governance framework. Now, my ideology is that for each of those codes, from Code of Corporate Governance like CBN 2006, the NICOM Code 2008, the 2009, the PENCOM Code 2008, the SEC Code 2011, CBN Code, and what have you. Each one of them, spells out governance principles, governance practices that companies should imbibe. And various sections of those acts and those codes mandate the sectorial players to abide by this code. So that means since then, the regulators check on them to see if, they are assessing this, if they are imbibing each of these, practices. But officially, and then as a way of practice for which people submit, reports, it was, the NCCG, that introduced it. But board evaluation, which is still a part of it as well, has been introduced, dated back, since the introduction of all of these codes.
Okay. Since we have corporate governance introduced into the country, we had board evaluation. Then we also have, you mentioned board appraisal. Is it the same thing as board appraisal?
Yes, board appraisal. I was just trying to use the exact language. The CBN Code 2016 calls it board appraisal. Okay. And then SEC code refers to it as performance.
Okay. And in doing that, there is evaluation of corporate governance.
Yes, there's evaluation of practice.
Okay. Which is the more effective way of carrying out? The other time you mentioned box ticking. And I intended to ask that question there, but we had no time. Which is the more effective way of carrying out corporate governance evaluation? Is it face-to-face or online or whatever means? And why do you think whatever means that is the more effective way, it is the more effective way?
Okay, I'll go like this. Permit me that I like to go, man.
It's okay.
Okay. So I did say to you last week when we were talking about in carrying out governance evaluation, there are various methodologies. Okay. Right? I talked about document review. I talked about questionnaires. I talked about interviews with stakeholders. I talked about group discussion. So for document review, for use of questionnaires, this question may not come to play because you can, irrespective of whether you go to the company to review physical documents or if they are scanned, to you can review anywhere. So I guess this question will apply, to such methodologies as interviews and then engagement of various stakeholders. And then in addressing that, I would say it's neither here nor there. Why am I saying so? I mean, COVID happened in 2020, and I was involved in an evaluation of a company in Kano, for example, and I never had to travel down to Kano. I interviewed every of the stakeholders I needed to via Zoom, via virtual platforms. And for me, it had almost the same effect. However, in answering your question directly, the truth of the matter is that when you meet people physically, we could do this virtually, for example, you could be calling me, there's something could be distracting. So when you meet physically, the high tendencies, for focus and concentration, will be there. So based on that, I would say that it will be more effective when you interface one-on-one rather than virtual or electronic method, even though nothing is taken from evaluating via virtual methodology.
Okay, before I take my next question, there is a text message already from Mr. Dele Ojo. He's asking, what are the benefits of corporate governance evaluation to organization and its stakeholders?
Okay, so benefits of corporate governance evaluation, the very first, which is the essence, we talked about effectiveness. Okay, so if I'm supposed to break down what I understand by effectiveness, it's basically achievement of purpose, achievement of objectives. So number one, we will not go into other things without pointing that out. So corporate governance evaluation aids the company's capacity to achieve purpose. That's achieving
one of the benefits.
That's one of the benefits. Other benefits would be that it will flag off the weaknesses inherent in the system, in the framework. Because when you are evaluating, from processes to processes, interacting with stakeholders, you will identify weaknesses, which is even the essence, which it is on the basis of that you are grading the organization from process, from practice, to practice. So it helps in that area to flag up the weaknesses so that the organization can work on it. Every organization, like I said last week, is evolving, and then the idea is for it to keep, getting better. Another thing it does is that it helps you, to meet up with compliance requirements of regulatory, requirements. And what that does, is that it saves you from sanction. Either there is sanction or there is name and shame. Whatever value, your evaluation report means to the regulators, or it helps you to achieve that. Sometimes it is sanction, sometimes it places you higher. Another thing it does is that it aids credibility. It aids accountability. It helps your capacity to improve your performance as an organization. It aids improved decision making. I could just go on and on like that.
Well, I want to believe that will satisfy Mr. Dele for asking that question. Now I want to go back to the issue of conduct. We're discussing conduct of corporate governance evaluation. Now, as ICSAN, as a professional institute or other professional authority, developed a template for the conduct of corporate governance evaluation so as to help companies prepare ahead for it?
Okay. So again, I'll put it in my context. Okay. So regulators. I know regulators that have templates, but for institutes, you will have to give it, to ICSAN. ICSAN has a template. I'm not aware of any other institute, at least within this client, that has a template that give it, to our great institute. We have a template. Before even coming back to that, we have regulatory authorities that have templates. Key among them, I'll mention the Financial Reporting Council, which I mentioned last week. I also talked about, the IFC, International Finance Corporation Methodology. Okay. I also talked about the NGX, CGRS. There's a template, an evaluation template. But permit me to also mention that, some sectoral groups, some sectoral regulators, have guidelines. For example, you have the Corporate Governance Guideline, for SEC and Form 01. So what that means is that if you are evaluating an organization under the regulation of SEC, that will come in. You will consider that document. Then we also have NICON. NICON has an approved corporate governance guideline, which also will come to play when you are evaluating companies that fall under the regulation of NICON. And then ICSAN, does have. Thank you.
Okay, if you are just joining the program, it's Corporate Governance Platform, and we are discussing the importance of corporate governance evaluation part 2. And our distinguished guest, Mr. Francis Olawale, FCIS, is really doing justice to that. If you are just joining us, and you can also be part of the program by asking questions or making comments via text message only to 080-2323-1287. Remember, we are discussing the importance of corporate governance evaluation. Well, you have satisfied me. I hope you satisfied the audience too when it comes to the conduct and the fact that ICSAN has a template for carrying out corporate governance evaluation. Now, I want to go back a little bit into the code. You mentioned something about the NCCG, the Nigerian Code of Corporate Governance 2018. The code provides that the board should ensure that an annual corporate governance evaluation is carried out, and that the evaluation should be externally facilitated by an independent external consultant at least once in 3 years. Why do you think there is a need for external facilitation instead of simple internal evaluation by the company on their governance practice?
Well, without taking anything away from the company, right? There is higher degree of objectivity when a third party is assessing, because it's detached. It is expected that the third party will do it dispassionately. Now, if it is being conducted in-house, I'm not ruling out the fact that it will still be done, professionally. Okay. It's in the best. You are a part of the system, right? That box ticking thing that I was talking about, last week, you got to play a lot. Okay. And then the human tendency of familiarity. You can't rule that out, from human beings. We are social creatures. I don't want to say we are social animals. We are social creatures. We thrive on relationships and interactions. And then these interactions build bond. As much as it is expected that in-house people will be very professional, it's human, to get familiar, to create bonds and emotional attachments. But an external person, an external consultant, barely knows stakeholders, so he's working basically with the objective, with the scope that has been agreed. So there is tendency, for him to have a very high level or high degree of detachment, and that will, culminate into a high level of objectivity in carrying out the exercise.
Okay, so giving it out to external consultants brings objectivity.
Yeah.
What on the fact that it is being conducted once in 3 years?
Okay. I guess the code. The code that we want by now is a very lovely code. It's apply and explain, and then there's also the principle of scalability and flexibility. All of these things are just being implemented. So I guess the Financial Reporting Council is giving everybody a soft landing. the issue of once, in 3 years, I want to believe, it's my opinion, it will not be unconnected with cost. I said to you last week, I don't remember the question you asked, and I thought, okay, I think challenges.
Okay,
and I did say to you that it doesn't come exactly very cheap. I know organizations, I know, standard organizations, and I'm talking from experience that use external consultants every year. If it's affordable, by them, they use external consultants every year. So I want to believe the issue, of costs and then the logistics, that surround it is the reason why the FCIS permits, or the code, permits internal stakeholders to conduct it, and then at least once in every 3 years, an external consultant to conduct it, so that the burden of costs isn't on an annual basis. But the code even says at least. The code didn't, give a ceiling. You could do it every year. It says at least. So that means no 3 years you go without
doing corporate governance
evaluation once an external. You could decide to do it every year if it's affordable.
Okay. Still talking about the code requires that the result or the report of this evaluation should be made known in the company's annual report and on the investors' portal. What's the rationale for this?
I mean, the rationale for making it a disclosure requirement in the annual report, the most basic of it would be feedback, to stakeholders. The annual report and account is a stewardship report, right, to the stakeholders. So when you include the extracts, it's not the full evaluation anyway.
Okay.
The evidence of having, conducted it. It gives a feedback, to stakeholders, part of which are the regulators, mind you. So they have the assurance that you have complied and you have conducted that exercise. And now beyond that is that it's aids accountability. I said to you now that the annual report and account is a document of stewardship. It's a stewardship report to stakeholders. And then when you are doing stewardship report, you're being accountable. You're telling them what you've done with their resources, human, financial, and all of that. So it aids, accountability. And then just in the same line, it's also indicates or symbolizes good communication flow between the people in charge of the company and all other stakeholders.
Wonderful. From your own experience about other countries that are, doing corporate governance evaluation, such as India, I know you've been doing it for a long time. What lessons can Nigeria learn from India on corporate governance evaluation?
Okay, I'll probably talk about just one of them. The first, that I would say is purposefulness and objectivity. Without wanting to be harsh, on us, we shouldn't make the exercise a flash in the pan. We should ensure that the essence. I just outlined the benefits, to us. So I think the value inherent in carrying out that exercise should be the inspiration driving the campaign and the promotion, of this exercise. So purposefulness and objectivity. And another thing, is consistency. The NCCG, we don't have an idea of when it's going to be reviewed, and all of that. I would want to advise, because of the value this exercise, adds to companies and stakeholders, we should be consistent, as it. I don't want to go into details of certain things. The NCCG 2017, which was suspended, certain things were in it. They were expunged, based on controversies and pressures here and there. So for this evaluation, I want the value inherent in conducting it to drive, the regulation of it, so that we get consistent, as it's not a flash in the pan that we just do for some time, then we lay back. There should be consistent, there should be, objectivity and purposefulness.
Okay, some of the things to learn is purposefulness, consistency, and objectivity. All right, I have another text message from one Mr. Tunde Adefuye. said, do you think that corporate governance evaluation motivates investors to invest in a company, or do you think it is just for financial performance that can motivate potential investors to invest in the company?
Anywhere in the world. As a matter of fact, you know why companies come up with quotes? Because it sends a signal generally to investors outside that market. You know, that bringing your funds into this, sovereign entity, you are guaranteed of safety. That means somebody somewhere is regulating the affairs. Because the fear of investors basically is sustainability.
Okay.
You understand? And corporate governance evaluation gives reassurance, about the sustainability of that company. It shows to those investors that if you stake, your funds with us, we are going to manage it, properly. Certain people will not just wake up somewhere and abscond with your money. We are under regulation, so it gives assurance to investors. So I want to believe that, beyond financial performance, existence of a good corporate governance framework reassures investors, and it's a fact. Because everybody wants their money in a safe place.
Okay, apart from financial performance, sustainability is very key. And before I wrap up, I still have a short time. This question you are going to answer in less than 60 seconds. Which professional bodies were suited to carry out corporate governance evaluation?
Can the interviewee become the interviewer? You know it. You want to answer that.
I'm the one asking the question.
If you refuse that, you know it. We all know it. ICSAN is. Because ICSAN is the hub of corporate governance. And I'm not being political here. It's the hub of corporate governance. It's the only institute in this country currently that has a full module, on corporate governance. They churn out experts, year in, year out. So who else, should have the bargain right or the best right to conduct that evaluation? ICSAN. You didn't want to say.
Okay, thank you very much. He has answered the question. ICSAN, of course, has what it takes to carry out corporate governance evaluation. On that note, we wrap up on the show. Thank you very much, Mr. Francis OLAWALE, FCIS, a member of the ICSAN Governing Council. Of course, you have to speak very well on here for ICSAN. We really appreciate your coming on the show and for sharing your thoughts. I want to thank our viewers, especially those that sent text messages. Dele Ojotunde Adefuye, thank you for your text messages. I hope the answers really satisfied you. Until we meet next week, I am Tunde Odeyemi. My producer has been Mr. Deboye Galadion, and the technical director is Mr. David. Keep spreading the gospel of corporate governance. Bye for now, and see you.
Do you have continuity or association plan for your business?
Has anyone shared the concept of sustainability with you?
What about the need to protect the rights of minority shareholders?
What are those ingredients germane to having effective meetings?
For these and many more, tune into Corporate Governance Platform every Thursday on MITV, your darling station, on DSTV 255 and UHF 43 at 4:30 p.m.
Corporate Governance Platform is your best medium for informative and educative strategies for the practice of the corporate governance profession.
Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, the hub of governance professionals.
3, 2, 1.